Good afternoon. I want to say good evening because I'm so used to coming to you in the in the evening, but it is afternoon. As you can see, it's daylight in Los Angeles right now, and this is a free training. I'm really excited. It is focusing on how your emotions impact your experience. And so this is a live hangout, and I'm just going to give everybody I see some people that are coming in the chat room. Leave me a comment there. Let me know that you're there. Hey, everybody. I'm really excited. This is, I haven't done one of these live hangouts outside of the Bible hangout in a while. And so I'm really delighted and excited to be doing this again. I'm glad to have you guys here, and I'm expecting it to be just phenomenal. And just so you know, there's a chat. I have no idea what the interface looks like on your end, but you're able to leave a message and I'm able to see it. And so if you have any questions, you can ask me those questions directly. So yeah, so great. And I hope everybody's doing well, keeping warm. I feel privileged. I looked at the weather before I got started, and it is in Los Angeles today. It is 72 degrees and clear. So I am so excited. Hey guys, hey Ray, hey Myra, hey Barbara. Good to see you guys. Glad to thank you for letting me know you're there. I was so excited to do this because this year for me is about being published, and I'm kind of ad-libbing here, giving people time to get into the webinar. I am so excited this year about being published, and so excited about just where my life is going, and this community that I have built through RevSherri.com and through the Metaphysical Bible Hangout. It's absolutely wonderful. I'm really grateful. I'm blessed, and I'm just it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, it can, because the best is yet to come. But I am deeply, deeply thankful and satisfied with the way that life is going and the way that things look in my experience. And I just saw a comment come through, and Barbara said, it's freezing here. Yeah. I lived on the East Coast. I'll tell you a funny story. I lived on the East Coast for 7 years. I went to school in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania. And I froze 5 of those 7 years. I mean, just froze, like that kind of cold that like gets in your bones, where it's like, it's just like you're cold to the core, like that type of cold. And everyone kept saying layer. And I was like, oh, I don't want to look fat, right? This is so stupid. But when you're young, you don't know, 18, 19, who knows anything at that age. And so I would, I put on the heavy clothes or whatever, but I never layer. I didn't even really understand what they meant by layering. And I graduated, and I was working in Philadelphia and working downtown at the Arts Bank, the Philadelphia Arts Bank, which was an arts resource center that organizations would use to rent out for theater shows or comedy shows or concerts or you name it. Had a cafe in the lobby area and the whole nine. I worked in the administrative office. And I was biking to work. I've always been very focused on health. It's one of the things that's important to me. I want to leave a legacy of health for my family. So I'm biking to work, and I've got all these heavy, bulky clothes on. I'm like, well, this is not working because my pants are getting caught in the drive train for the bike, and it's just, it's not working. So it occurs to me, those of you on the East Coast, I know you'll appreciate this. It like the light bulb goes on. And it's like, oh, you know what? I should put on some thinner things and just put on more of them. So I'll put on like maybe, like a under, what do they call long johns? Put on, long johns, and then put a t-shirt on top of that, and then another shirt on top of that, maybe a sweater on top of that. And then I'll put on like, some pants, like underpants, like literally underpants. So I never knew what underpants were until I had to put on underpants. And so I put on the underpants, and then I put some leggings on top of that, or some tights on top of that, and then some leggings on top of that. And so I was like, oh, this is great because I'm able to bike to work, and like, it is, it's feeling good. And I don't even remember how it happened or what happened, but it was like the light bulb went on, and it was like, oh, that's what they meant. That's what they meant by the layering. So I froze for 5 of those 7 years. And it wasn't until I was biking to and from work, because I lived well, close to West Philly, and biking downtown to Center City, that it finally dawned on me that that's what they meant by layering. So my condolences to you, Barbara. Myra is making it worse because it's even better in Miami. She says it's 80 degrees in Miami, which is like, what? Like, I mean, we don't have, well, no, actually, it's no humidity where you guys are right now either. We don't have humidity anytime during the year. I know as the summer comes, it's going to get real crazy in Miami. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to share with you guys what I have for you today. So this training is all about how emotions impact or affect experience. And I was reading a statistic because I'm very interested in how to help people to manage their emotions, how to help myself manage my emotions. And one of the things that I read, this comes out of the University of Scranton. I'm working from a lot of notes here, so you'll see a lot of papers shuffling back and forth here as I go through this training. 4 out of 10 people quit their resolutions before reaching the month of February. 4 out of 10. That's like 40%. 40% of the people quit their resolutions before they reach the month of February. And then even more fall off after that. And so one of the things that you got to ask is like, okay, well, what's going on? What's happening that people are dropping off in terms of working towards their dreams? Now, I said this year for me is all about publishing. I have started books, stopped books. I have started screenplays, stopped screenplays. I have written devotional, stopped devotional. I mean, like literally, I have so many different projects that are in varying degrees of almost finished, that I got to this year and it was like, you know what? It's time for the rubber to meet the road. But the thing is that when you make that declaration, the first thing that happens is that you run into resistance. Now, there is a book that I have that I'm reading called The War of Art, and it is Steven Pressfield, and he's probably the first person, or at least person that I'm aware of, that popularized this term resistance to explain what it is that we are, running into when we run into ourselves. And Pressfield says that we encounter the resistance anytime we try to do something important. It could be improving our health, writing a book, reaching a financial milestone, getting our inbox to zero, and whatever it is, we've all felt it, 100 times. I probably felt it this morning, when you are getting ready to do. In fact, I know I did, because I had every intention of being up and for my time, 6 a.m. and preparing, and somewhere in there, snooze turned into like an 8 o'clock wake up time. How does that work? How does that work? Myra says, yes, the day resolution dies is January 22nd. Yes, absolutely. And so the thing is that how do we overcome this internal resistance? Because each of us is gifted with a magic. Each of us is gifted with, magic isn't the word because it makes it sound like it is outside the realm of what is normal or universal law. And that's not really it. It is that there is something so special and so wonderful within you. And your work is in finding it within you and then letting it out. And that's the work. That's the work. That's the spiritual work that we're all called to do. And each one of us has a spiritual assignment that we are required even to fulfill. And everything in our experience, every experience that we have ever had is intricately connected to the fulfillment of our soul's spiritual assignment. And at some point in your experience, I know for me, at some point in my experience, I had to say, okay, it's time for me to fulfill my spiritual assignment. Barbara calls it a unique light. Yes, each one of us has a unique light that is specific to us. And our responsibility is to release that light into expression, to release that light, and it will take on the form and the character that we decide that it takes on. Most of us, I read something, Eric Donaldson. Some of you guys know Eric Donaldson. I don't know if I'll find it, but I love the language that he used. He sends out these text messages. I'm looking for it so I can read it exactly. And here's this was yesterday's text message. What a waste it would be if the talents and gifts God gave you were gobbled up by the grave. And I thought that was such a, like, you think of the grave in different ways, but the grave gobbling up your gifts. What if the things that you have inside of you to express, you never got out of your own way to express them, and they were gobbled up by the grave? It's such a visceral image. And I just had the experience last month of officiating the service for my mother's brother, for my uncle. And I don't know what dreams he had that didn't come into expression, but for sure, the last thing I wanted to have happen is for a group of people to be standing around memorializing me and saying she had so much potential. That just simply flat out just doesn't work for me. And so it is at this moment that I am saying enough is enough. Enough is enough with half manifested dreams. Enough is enough for unmanifested dream. Time is out for my emotions managing me as opposed to me managing my emotions. Now, there are a number of different things. I've done a couple of trainings. You guys probably saw the free trainings that were out there. I still have them up for a little while, so you can take a look at them on my website. If you need them, you just email me at Sherri@revsherri.com and I'll send them out to you. But one of the first things that I talked about was how to leave an emotional rut, and that there are practices that we can do to get ourselves out of the emotional corners that we find ourselves in. And I know in my own personal experience, I've had not even days, months, where I just flat out didn't want to get out of bed. I mean, I got up because I had to, not because I wanted to. And that kind of emotional rut sets the tone for the entire day, where if you are dragging yourself out of bed, and instead of jumping out of bed and saying, thank God it's Monday or whatever, it sets the tone. And what you want is to be able to move out of whatever that sleeping space is into your life, enthused and excited about your life. I also talked about how to stay focused, and I shared with you a prayer technique that I use where I write a letter using the form of the letter from Revelation to self-coach myself, but also to stay focused, to acknowledge the things that I have done well, and then also to pay attention to the things where I can be making some better decisions. And then we talked about how to handle the winters of life, that our lives moves in seasons, and at any point there's a winter season in our life. And the thing is that it is not that we don't have winters, or that we get to a point in our life where we don't have winters. That's part of just the cycle of how things move. The question is, do you do the right things in the winter, or do you lament the fact that it's winter, which then prolongs the winter that comes into your experience. So all of those free trainings were for the purpose of showing you some practical steps for managing your emotions. Today, what I want to talk about is that experience comes through feeling. Everything that happens to us happens through us, and specifically, it happens through our feeling nature. So experiences in and of themselves don't have meaning. We assign the meaning. Nothing makes us feel a certain way. We bring feeling to every situation. There is no such thing as my boss made me mad, or my coworker upset me, or my child really aggravated me. No, experiences in and of themselves don't have any meaning assigned to them. Haven't you ever had an experience where you were so happy, you were so over the moon, that even if someone was angry and they came into your experience, their anger, even if it was justified and whatever they were angry at, it didn't matter, it was not, could not bring you down. How you show up is a function of choice. How you show up is a function of choice. And the lie that we must let go of is the lie that external situations, external circumstances determine how we feel. I think this is one of the reasons that Jesus said, let suffer the children to come unto me, and you must become like a child. That not that you must go back and be uninformed, but think about how children respond to bad news. You know, oh, we can't go to Legoland today. Oh, okay, I'm sad for a moment. And then I get over it. I'm back playing because I can't go to Legoland today. So there's not anything that I can do about it. And so I'm not happy that we're not going to Legoland, but I'm detaching because I got this great toy over here. Whereas as an adult, the equivalent of our Legoland, oh, I can't pay this bill this month, or I can't achieve this goal in this moment that I wanted to achieve it. And then we're not sad for the moment. We're sad for like months. Like it's an entire stretch of time. And we say, well, things aren't going right. I'd feel better if things were going right. No, things would go right if you felt better. So how you show up is a function of choice. I really taught myself this lesson. I've had two experiences in my life where I was working for a company, and I had a contract, and my contract was not renewed. Now, that's a euphemistic way of saying fired, but hey, whatever. But either way, literally it was that the contract was not being renewed. The first time I was younger, I had not been in this truth teaching for a while. They let me know that, no, your contract is going to end on such and such day, and we're not going to renew it. And I was so depressed. I was so saddened. One, just the idea of that the work that I had done in my mind had not been, meaning what I felt now that they weren't renewing the contract, was not good enough, and that it was somehow a commentary on me. And getting out of bed was tough. Going to work was tough. I didn't feel like looking for another job. I felt that I felt unworthy. I felt this sense of just sadness, and just really just some really serious grief about the fact that they were not renewing my contract. Now, cut to almost 15 years later, different experience. I've had some training in this now. I know I'm a little bit more in charge of my emotions. And I have a very similar experience happen where the person comes in and says, look, we like the work that you're doing, but we don't think that you're right in this position. And so we want to move you to another place in the company, find it, see where else you want to go. And so now I'm just shocked. But I've got some training, and I know that how I show up determines the outcome. And so instead of the dragging and can't get out of bed and all of the things that I did in that first situation, in this next situation, I showed up entirely differently. I showed up happy every day. In fact, I was probably happier. I showed up enthusiastic. I gave my very best. I didn't pull back. Like I didn't go with this idea that, oh, well, this job is going to be, ending soon. And so I'm going to give a half effort. I gave extra. I look for ways to do extra, to be more than I had been even before. Not because I was trying to get the job back, but because I understand that how I show up is it cannot be dependent on external circumstances. And I know for sure, because people told me that that time period shifted the perception that other people had about me. Because who learns that something is going to be taken away from you and you show up even more enthusiastically? You show up giving your very best. Our emotions, our experience comes through feeling. And so what could have been a very sad time of, letting go of this position and having to look for the next position, and could have been a very sad experience. But instead, it was a very joyful experience. And quite honestly, it enabled me to completely let go of that moment in time, so that when I walked out of that door for the last time, there was no residual anything in me for that place. There was no anger. There was no resentment. There was no feeling put upon or mistreated or any of that. It was that I gave all that I had to give. And I trust that what I had to give was enough. And now I'm ready for my next assignment. So how we show up is so important. How we respond to the external stimuli in our world is incredibly important. There is a story I wanted to share with you. And let me know if you have any questions on any of this, if this is making sense, this is clear for you. But I want to be clear that how you show up is a function of choice. The second thing is that the choice in terms of how you show up influences your outcome. Literally, there is nothing that you cannot overcome. Nothing. But in reality, or in your experience, it is very different based on what's happening to you emotionally. Your emotions determine whether or not you can or you cannot. It is not, back up, you can, but your emotions determine whether you do or do not. So the emotions are so important. This is a story from, you guys may know Diana Nyad. She swam the sea. I guess it is a sea, maybe it's the ocean, but anyway, the Atlantic between Florida and Cuba. And so I want to share this story with you about her. She did this in September 2013. And this is what it says. It's Monday, September 2nd, 2013. This is Key West, Florida, just before 2 p.m. Eastern. Diana Nyad stumbles ashore. Her legs are wobbling about like a drunk because they've not taken the weight of her body for 53 straight hours. She officially reaches U.S. soil. Her face is swollen like a balloon. Her speech is slurred because her lips and tongue are blistered and swollen, a result of wearing a special jellyfish mask. Find a way. She had just completed a personal challenge, a dream, making her the first person in history to achieve this feat without a protective cage. This was her 5th attempt at that dream. 53 hours earlier, 8:59 a.m. on Saturday, she jumped into the ocean in Havana, Cuba, and had just crossed 112 miles of shark-infested water with no shark cage. The same stretch of sea where swarms of deadly Atlantic box jellyfish call their home. Jellyfish with lethal, venomous stings that practically shut down your nervous system. Diana's story is incredible, and I encourage you to read the details. But here's the most incredible part. The journey from Cuba to Florida didn't start 2 days earlier. Her journey started in 1978. Yep, some 35 years ago. She was 28 years old then. The attempt was so painful, so draining, She tried to put the dream in a box and move on with her life, but it was still there, like a splinter in her mind, feeling awkward, always there, talking to her. It was waiting for the right moment, growing in significance and power. It wouldn't let up. So she tried again in 2010, 2011, and 2012. Pig-headed determination and persistence from a burning desire to fulfill a dream, failure again and again, then the right moment. The swim wasn't easy, said Nyad. You have a dream 35 years ago, doesn't come to fruition, but you move on with life. But it's somewhere back there. Then you turn 60 and your mom just dies and you're looking for something. And the dream comes waking out of your imagination. Those were the slurred words Diana Nyad said after staggering out of the sea on the beach in Key West, Florida. She's 64 years old now. Can you imagine that? Find a way. She chanted this over and over to shut negative thoughts out of her mind. Instead of thinking how far she had to go, she focused on the 6 inches of open water in front of her. She told herself, forget about the surface up. Get your hands in somehow. And with your left hand, say, push Cuba back, push Florida towards you. And even though Diana could barely speak from blisters in her mouth, she said to the crowd at Key West, I got 3 messages. 1 is we should never give up. 2 is you are never too old to chase your dreams. And 3, it looks easy like a solitary sport, but it takes a team. She stopped thinking about all the training, how to move her arms, and just got down to reach forward with my left arm, push Cuba a little further away, and push Florida towards you. Repeat, repeat, repeat for 112 miles. Now, I want you to think about this. I don't know when the last time you guys have done an all-nighter. I hate to say that my days of doing all-nighters are gone because I don't know why I took pride in doing the all-nighters, but I can tell you that something happened past the age of 35 and all-nighters became a no-no. So, and a no-go. So this woman is 60 years old. She stays up for 2 days in a row, plus 10 more hours. And she's swimming the entire time, day and night, nonstop. And there are sharks and there are jellyfish to contend with. And she's 64 years old. It is not about what you can do. She started doing this when she was 28. She started this when she was 28. She didn't get charge of her emotions until she was 64. I think we could probably agree she was probably in better shape at 28, certainly more capable at 28. 28, you just can do more. Your reflexes are different. You know, it's just, you're a different person. You've got different physical attributes about you at 28. It wasn't about the physicality. It was about her ability to grab hold of her emotions. And what did it say? It said, instead of thinking about how far she had to go, she focused on the 6 inches of open water in front of her. She told herself, forget about the surface up, get your hands in somehow, and with your left hand, say, push Cuba back and push Florida towards you. The technique for getting to what is within you to create, it is not dependent on how old you are. It is dependent on how well you manage your emotions. Will it tax you? Probably, because it's going to ask you to come out of your comfort zone. Will it require more than you think that you have? Probably, because you've never done it before. But something my teacher, the Reverend Dr. Mary Tumpkin, taught me is that God does not need you to keep the status quo. So if your dream is supporting the status quo, it's probably not the dream from God. You are being called to do what has never been done before. And so you must walk boldly and trust and get control of your emotions. It said she tried this when she was 28 years old. And listen, I'm reading from the story exactly. It says the attempt was so painful, so draining, she tried to put the dream in a box and move on with her life. The things in your life that you think are draining are only draining because you think that they are draining. Don't you think that it was draining on her if she was 28 and it was draining on her? Don't you think at 64 it was draining on her? If it was painful when she was 28, think about when you were 28. When you wake up, no pain, no, nothing in your body. You get up out of the bed like as if you had, nothing happened, right? How do you get out of the bed at 64? What's your body saying to you at 64 when you get out of the bed? So it's not about what you physically have to deal with. It is about you getting in charge of your emotions. Your emotions control whether you do or you don't. And so your work is to master your emotions. So the first thing we said is that how you show up emotionally is a matter of choice. And then what you show up with emotionally determines what you're even able to do. I want to share with you one other story. I hope I have it handy. Oh, you know what? I'm going to find it here. I'm so proud of this young lady. Some of you know there's a film out that came out in LA December 28th, but in the rest of the world, January 9th, and it's called Selma. And there's a young lady, Ava DuVernay, who directed this film. And the awards came out. Now, the film is phenomenal. The film is absolutely wonderful. It is probably one of the most beautiful works of art out there. I got a chance to see it earlier this month. For my church, we did it as part of our metaphysical movie night, and it was just an incredible experience. So the Academy Award nominations have been announced, and Selma has not been nominated for pretty much anything other than Best Picture and Best Song. And so Ava, people have come out and taken to Twitter and Facebook, and they're talking about it's racist and, it shouldn't have happened and she should have been acknowledged and blah, blah, blah. And so what is telling to me, as looking at this from a spiritual perspective, is how she is showing up to this experience. Because whether it's right or wrong that she should have been nominated or not, her response to this is important. Her emotions are a determining factor in where she goes after this. And I want you to listen to this. This is an article that came out today, and it said this is her response. Selma director Ava DuVernay has revealed that she is not surprised about not being nominated for this year's Academy Awards. In fact, Ava knew last month that she didn't make the list, but no one in the Academy threw any hints her way. DuVernay simply stated, "It's math," which according to her seldom adds up in her favor. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Ava DuVernay explained how the film's screening copies failed to reach Academy members, and then the film failed to be nominated by the Screen Actors Guild, Producers Guild, and Directors Guild. When asked about her disappointment on not being the first African-American woman to win an Oscar for directing, DuVernay responded with a hopeful statement. "It would have been lovely. When it happens to whomever it happens to, it will certainly have meaning." The math Ava referred to in her statement was inclusive of the over 6,000 members of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. Um, Though Ava knew that odds were against her, she was determined to stick to her vision. According to a recent statement, DuVernay had a clear plan to the creation of the film Selma that she refused to let any outside sources compromise. It was important to me that my voice, my vision stayed intact, because if this movie failed, then it did so based on what I truly liked rather than on some compromise someone got me to make. I would have never forgiven myself because I knew there was not going to be another chance. After the announcement of the 2014 Academy Award nominees on January 15th, many people swarmed to social media in protest for what they considered pure racism. And this is Ava speaking. Among the first Academy Awards nominee lists since 1998 are directors Clint Eastwood and Christopher Nolan, a list that many feel Ava DuVernay has not earned the privilege to be added to. The director's first film was as recent as 2011. Seniority aside, Ava has expressed both her anticipation and skepticism for her future in the director's chair. And this is a statement that I love that I want you to hone in on. I've never been in this place before. There is no precedent for it, and there is no Black woman I can call and ask. I'm trying to be clear and follow my own footsteps because there is no Black woman's footsteps to follow. The unique light that is within you is looking to take you where no one else has ever gone. And though there may be setbacks along the way, and you may not be acknowledged for work that maybe you should be acknowledged for, your emotional state is key to you fulfilling the assignment that is on your soul. And so you cannot afford to fall into anger and resentment and depression and all of those other emotions, because they keep you from expressing the unique light that is only yours to express. Getting charge of your emotions is probably one of the most important pieces of work that you will do. It is not easy, but it is doable. One of the things that I am excited about, and I'm going to share with you some information on the course that I have coming up, is core work. And this class is all about getting in charge of your emotions. And so this course is a 7-week course. And we're going to meet for once a week beginning Tuesday, January 27th. We'll meet by conference call. And each weekly call is going to be for about an hour, but I'm going to leave my day open so that if it needs to go longer than that, we'll be able to do that. And so this will be an opportunity for us to discuss the lesson and answer any questions that come up from the weekly assignments. So just a little bit about how the structure of this. So 7 modules, and the first module is just to get clear on how core beliefs drive your experience and to understand the connection between feeling and action. And then looking at why are some habits harder to break or form than others? And then how do our emotions impact our beliefs? So we're going to get into that. This piece of the course is our foundational piece. It's where we sort of look at the strategic foundation that underpins everything else that we're going to study in the course. And then in the second module, which will be on week 2, we're going to look at what are your core beliefs. And we're going to zero in on those recurring negative thought and behavior patterns. We're going to tear down that. I'm going to give you some very specific processes for tearing down that inner resistance to change. And then we're going to uncover some of those hidden stumbling blocks that interfere with our ability to establish and maintain a new core belief. Myra writes, that is an incredible, powerful story, both hers and Diana Nyad. It is so easy to get caught up in the race consciousness of things. Thanks for the reminder. You're very welcome. And that's what this course is about. Because here's the thing. Many of us have been in this teaching. We know this, right? We know this. But Emmett Fox says there's no such thing as undemonstrated understanding. So when you really understand something, it becomes part of your way of being. And so the value of a class like this is that it anchors in this information, because what we're looking for is we want this information to move from head knowledge to heart knowledge. We need it to come out of the realm of the intellect and move into the realm of the heart, move into the realm of the feeling nature. We do according to the way that we feel. When you don't, one of the challenges of being sick, meaning physically sick, is that you don't feel like doing anything. And so you don't do anything because you lay around. It's like, I don't feel like it. And we want to get past this place of, I don't feel like it. Your unique light in you needs you to feel like it. Module number 3, we're going to look at getting unstuck from negative and limiting core beliefs. So we're going to tackle some long held attitudes that you've been dealing with for years. We've got some in-depth training on getting out of emotional ruts. And we're going to look at, like, what are those core beliefs? There's some beliefs that are easy to just, knock out of the way in like a moment. I know when I came into truth, there were things I was just manifesting. It just manifesting. And then I hit bedrock and it was like, whoa, I need some techniques here because I got some things that have been with me since I was a little girl, teenager, to now, and I need some help excavating this stuff. And so we're going to get into that. We can look at why those patterns recur, especially when it feels like something you should not be dealing with at your age. I don't know if anybody's had that experience, but you feel like, I am still dealing with this, is still here. Are you kidding me? The 4th module, what you see is what you get. And so we're going to use the power of attention to shift your world. I'm going to give you some techniques to break your fixation on things that are not working. That is one of the things, this is probably, well, all these modules I love, but this one in particular, if you have ever been fixated on something, and I know you know what I'm talking about, it's not working. The relationship is not going to happen. He's not going to do what you want him to do, but yet you are fixated on it. And so even though this is not right for you, and it could be a job, it could be a significant other, it could be anything, that this is not part of God's divine plan for you because it ain't no flow in it. And there's no absence of life anywhere. But you are fixated on it, and you are fixated on trying to make it work. Well, we're going to deal with that. How do we break that fixation? We're also going to look at learning to see the world in a way that prospers you. We really don't see the world as we are, as it is. We see the world as we are. And so it is, what the eyes tell us is really a reflection of what the heart believes. What the eyes tell us is a reflection of what the heart believes. So if you change the belief, you change what the eyes see. And so we're going to look at how to see the world in a way that prospers you, and really developing that eye for abundance. And then module number 5 is, I call this to get to the heart of the matter, get those goals in alignment with those values. Anytime you're running into an issue with manifesting your goals, you have to look at, are they lined up with your values? And probably 99% of the time, they are not lined up with your values. And you may have some things that you value that you don't even know that you're valuing, and that's part of why you're not going for the goal. And so when you get those values in alignment with the goals, you essentially get your why. You get clear on your why. So we're also going to look at identifying your values and understanding that connection between goals and values, and then raising your self-worth. You've got to feel worth what it is you want. That's it. Everything you have right now is what you feel worthy of. Everything you have right now is what you feel worthy of. If you're going to have something different, then you're going to have to raise your self-worth. And so if there is a dream that you have not yet manifested, you can absolutely tie it to a worthiness, because what you feel worthy of, you express in your life. And so anything that you struggle to bring into expression, there's some self-worth issues. And so we're going to get into all of that. And then module 6, the power of speed. Technique, we're going to look at techniques to develop momentum towards your goal. You know, half of the good part of not manifesting is that we don't have any momentum. So it is, you know, being able to like move at any kind of pace is just, it's almost impossible. We're going to harness the power of our emotional energy. And then we're going to look at the quickening power of prayer to change your world. I said this last night in the Bible Hangout. Any kind of change that you want to make in character is a change that you've got to access in prayer. It doesn't, there's no, that's the only lasting change that ever comes. If you are trying to change character in any way, then it is going to be because you prayed about it. And there is no such thing as prayer that does not change you. If you're not changed, you're not praying. So prayer changes you, period. And then finally, the last module is make it last forever. Is give me the stuff that's going to make this stuff stick. So we're going to look at the keys to lasting change. We're going to look at techniques for tracking your own progress. You know, how do we keep ourselves on track? And those are our 7 weeks together. I'm really excited about that. And then I have a couple of bonuses that I've announced and kind of teased in. The first one is that I'm going to give you this system. This is an abundance system. It's a 40-day system by Dr. Jarrell Pulley called Daily Abundance. And so this is actually free with your registration. And then I only have a limited number of copies, but I'm also giving for the first few people that sign up for core work, I am giving a copy of Reverend Sheila McKeithen's 12 Steps to Your Healing. This is a phenomenal book. She just released it. And I'm actually working on trying to get an interview with her set up. We'll do a webinar like this. But this book is amazing. Some of you know Reverend Sheila's story and the healing that she had. She is an amazing teacher, an amazing thinker, someone to really, really learn from. And I just encourage you to, if you don't have this book, to get it. But those of you that sign up today, you'll get this book for free as part of it. It's an amazing healing system. So the class itself, this is 7 weeks of intensive, 20 hours, more than 20 hours of training. So there weekly conference calls, but I'm also going to do some video trainings, pre-recorded things that I'm going to give you. And those things are, for all of that is only $57. And I, being raised, if you will, in the UFBL, I believe that freely given, freely received, or freely receive, freely give. And so I want to make sure that this course is available to everyone, that everyone has an opportunity to be able to take it. And so I looked for a price point that made sense for me, because this is my business, but also that made sense for you, because I want to make sure that it is something that is affordable. And so I have a couple of questions I'm going to answer. I don't know if any questions that you guys have, but I'm going to just kind of go through the questions that people have sent me, during this open enrollment period. People have asked me when the class meets. The class meets every week, once a week, beginning Tuesday, January 27th at 4 p.m. Pacific. We will meet via conference call, and it is a recorded conference call. And so in these weekly calls, or I should say in between these weekly calls, you'll work independently. But the weekly call will give us an opportunity to address any questions that arise from the assignments and or the reading. Course materials, I will supply you all the course materials. What if I have to miss one of the days or cannot make the call time? No problem. Each call is recorded. Also, there will be opportunities for you to pre-submit questions if you cannot join live. But I do strongly encourage you to dial into the live calls. Your live participation enhances the learning experience for you and for the community. And the other thing is I have a hot seat segment that I've designed. It's the first time I've done this, but I'm really excited about it. It's a hot seat segment where literally, if you're on the hot seat, we deal with whatever your emotional issue is right there on the call. And so it is an opportunity to get some powerful one-on-one consulting in that hot seat segment. So you definitely don't want to miss the calls if you cannot. But that said, I know, Myra, you had a question because you have a lot on your plate. And here's what I would say. I think that the class, what you put into it is what you get out. But one thing I will say is that once the class is finished, I will turn it into a digital product. I will mention that the price will be higher. So this price is only for this live class, but once it becomes a digital product that is, meaning it's not a live class anymore, it will sell or retail at a higher price. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that. Are there assignments to complete? Yes, there is absolutely homework. Now, here's what I learned. I learned from my study buddy, my bestie, Reverend Sherri. Call it soul work. So that's just to help anybody that has a problem with homework. But here's the thing. It actually turns out that the soul work is some of the favorite things that people love to do because it's that personal excavation. And, you get out of the program what you put in. But I encourage you that it really, working on yourself, you cannot go beyond the level of your own self-development. Oh, I just see a message from Barbara. Barbara says, I'm in. Yay. Glad to have you, Barbara. Glad to have you in the class. That the working on yourself, you cannot, it's Jim Rohn that says, you will not succeed beyond the level of your self-development. Your self-development is key. It is, I don't know how to say it, it's everything. If you feel stuck, you are stuck only to the degree that you have not developed yourself. And I don't know how to say that, but you got to trust that because everything in your life is a reflection of who you are right now. If you want more in your experience, then you're going to have to draw more out of you. And the only way to draw more out of you is self-development. I mean, that's it. So this course is a self-development course. And its focus is specifically on getting in touch and in charge of the emotions that keep us in a state of resistance and move. And we're going to work in this 7 weeks together, moving to a state of flow. And so by the end of these 7 weeks, you'll be in a better position to take action on your goals and keep moving towards that action. So not just I'm working on my goals, but that resistance will be less than and hopefully gone altogether. So this is the work that we will be doing together, and the soul work is a part of it. So what if you get behind on your soul work? Well, it doesn't matter, because the audio files of each class are going to be available to you forever. So all the material that you have, you'll be able to download it, and it is yours in perpetuity to be able to use. I've done classes like this before, and I know that people go back and retake the classes on their own because each time you revisit this information, it's fresher. You see things that you didn't see before. It's always amazing. How much time do I need to commit to this teleclass to be successful? I think in an ideal world, I would say if you can find at least 30 minutes to an hour every day. And now here's the everyday thing. Anything you do every day is going to be a game changer in your life. But even if you did just 20 minutes every day, one of the things that I had been struggling with was making sure that I was reading enough. Meaning my day would get so full that I'd be like, I can't fit the reading in. And so I made a non-negotiable where for 10 minutes every day I read. And that may not seem like a lot, but by the end of the week, that's 70 minutes in a week, which is basically that's an hour and 10 minutes a week. And in a month, that's 5 hours a month. And in a year, that's 60 hours in a year. And not to mention the times that I read outside of that, of course. But my point is that I made a personal commitment and I made it a non-negotiable. And so your personal development has to become a non-negotiable. Now, the self-study, I think the same thing. I think that keeping a similar time frame, that 32 minutes to an hour, make an appointment with yourself for yourself that you will not miss. Will you offer core work again? I do not intend to offer it as a live course again. The course is going to be packaged, but of course, it's not going to include the community support of the live class. And also the price for the packaged digital product will be higher. I mentioned that before. So I really recommend that you take advantage of the course now. And just trust that you were guided, to the right place at the right time for the perfect experience. Don't put your spiritual growth off into the fanciful future, because the future is, let's tell you this, the future is going to look more like what it looks like right now, because now is the only time. So take control of the power that is now. Any other questions that you guys have? Excuse me, I need to get just a drink of water here. Something got in my throat. Any other questions? I should mention, for those of you that are in the Universal Foundation for Better Living and you're licensed teachers, also licensed teachers for Unity, this course is CEU eligible as well as SEE eligible, or I guess, I don't know if they say it that way, but for Unity, it is it's eligible for SEE credits. So this is one way to fulfill those credits that we all need to have to keep our licenses active. So the course is CEU eligible, and I'll give you it has a lot of hours. So I'll give you the hours that you'll be able to put on your form when you turn it into the office for credentialing. One of the things I want to share with you, a testimonial from a couple of people that have taken classes with me before. This is from Robin Johnson, who lives in Inglewood, California. She wrote, I did a class in the fall last year using Reverend Mary's 21 Before You Pray, Forgive. And the class was called 21 Days of Forgiveness. It was a 21-day teleclass. And then this is what she wrote. She said, "Your class cleared up so much for me with regard to forgiveness. Prior to this class, I found it difficult to forgive because I felt it was admitting guilt or reconciliation. Since the class, I am more ready to say, I forgive you and I forgive me. I had a very sensitive situation in my family this week. I was hurt by it and upset, and I had to say, I forgive you in order to release the pain and move past the hurt. I also said I release it and I don't want to speak about it anymore. This class gave me the courage to forgive and not feel like I was being a wimp, for lack of a better word, by forgiving. So thank you for what I feel is a deep subject, and you were brave for bringing it in. Forgiveness, I believe, really gives us an opportunity to know and look at ourselves first. I'm still working with an understanding because I really do want to be in a place of forgiveness. I don't want unforgiveness to block my flow of good, and much more, my relationship with God." Margaret Garvin from Phoenix, Arizona wrote, "Dear Rev Sherri, you are just an unbelievable dynamo. Thank you so much for your forgiveness class. I began thinking I had no one to forgive, but as I progressed, I realized that there was a literal floodgate of those I hadn't released. It has been a very liberating and freeing experience. I wasn't always able to listen each day and have some catch up to do, so I'm glad the recordings are available. I have also had the experience to say no, which has been interesting. And I must admit, I'm still feeling a slight twinge of guilt, but not as much as I normally have. Thank you. Connecting with you has truly been a blessing for me, as I feel I have grown so much spiritually and learned so much. Thank you for all that you do and give. You are truly an emissary of God's divine light and love." So those are just a couple of testimonies from previous classes that I've done. I don't see any other questions, and so I will assume that I don't have any other questions right now, but I thank you so much for this. This recording will be available afterwards, and I'll send it to you via email. But I thank you so much, and I look forward. I'll be back doing this again today at 5 o'clock. And I just appreciate you, and I thank you for joining me today. Have an absolutely marvelous, wonderful day. And for those of you that are joining me in core work, I will see you on the other side, and I look forward to Tuesday. Take care.